Some people just beg to have their picture taken. Hello, pretty butterfly. Or are you a moth?
All right, made it here to Indian-Celina Lake recreation area. I'm going to go ahead and camp here at the North Face campground. If you're interested in camping and you're interested in finding a place with some privacy, especially the non-electric sites at North Face are just like awesome. How many times do you go somewhere where you have privacy just like this right here, all the way around? Daggone it. That right there is the next storm already heading this way. So if I'm going to load, I'm going to either have to load up in this water or I'm going to have to wait this next storm out. Daggone it. I was hoping I'd have time. This water would settle down a little bit. I'm going to go for it. I got to go for it. I got to get the boat out of the water. I don't know what this next storm, they say 50, 60 mile an hour winds. I can't have the Selvin sitting down there. I don't want something to get torn up on it. Hang on. Hey, anytime you go on an adventure, you can plan all you want to plan, but Mother Nature's in charge. Always in charge. She just allows good things to happen and she allows bad things to happen. Okay. Let's get it loaded up. If you're interested in checking out the North Face campground and interested to see, what it kind of looks like, I've got a pretty nice video, North Face campground review. I walked around and basically filmed most of the sites. Every once in a while a site was occupied. I didn't want to film it with somebody on the site. But, it gives you a real good idea what it's like, if you came here and went around. Even if you're traveling across the nation, if you're from, the West Coast or East Coast, either way, this is right off Interstate 64, main artery east to west in the United States. Yeah, you got to come check it out. It's a great place for just a one-night stay as you go on through, or if you want to stay a little bit. Now, of course, it's summertime in southern Indiana, so it's going to be hot, it's going to be muggy, there's going to be mosquitoes and bugs. Right now, it is a pleasant, probably 75 degrees, but that's because these storms have rode through. See, I'll take the Selvin tomorrow, and I'm going to put it on Celina Lake, and then there's also Indian Lake. So there's two different lakes. Now, you can't run either motor. The 9.8 Tohatsu, I can't fire it up. I'm going to have to do everything by trolling motor. But the lakes aren't that big, so it's not going to be that big of a deal. Yeah, it's southern Indiana. And there are a lot of mosquitoes, and there are a lot of ticks. I would rather deal with mosquitoes any day than ticks. You'll want to use the deep woods off, be sure and bring plenty of it, and you just put it on. And you want to fish and you want to do things, just realize it's buggy. It's a buggy community, Hey, at least the cicadas aren't here. Last year or the year before I pulled up and I thought there were sirens going off. They were so loud. Check that video out. That's crazy. They were so loud, but you know, they only hatch every 7 years, sometimes every 17 years. It's pretty cool to watch that video and hear them. So here's one of the best tents I have ever owned. Gazelle tents. This is a T4, and oh my, so easy to set up, so easy to take down. Now it's not small, as you can see. You know, it probably would not fit in a lot of vehicles unless it's a long SUV, goes in the back of a truck. On the Pontiac Montana, the 2004 Pontiac Montana, I actually built a storage box for it that goes up on my rack system. So this fall, I'm going to head up to Lake Superior, and you know, I've got the choice of taking my 1985 Coleman Sun Valley with me, which I have for quite a few years. This year I'm going to take the Gazelle, and I put it up on that storage box. It's out of the way. Don't have to worry about it until I need it. Open the box up, and there it is. Check it out. I got a video on it. Pretty cool. If you have Gazelle, just like that right there, and you need a storage box, I show you how to build one. Highly water resistant at that. Check it out. You know, it's kind of funny when I come here and I'm starting to set up camp. This is the first time this year I've actually been to Indian. You know, this is my mainstay. This is the place that I really like to come and camp and hang out. But you know, now with the Selvin, Patoka Lake is just a place to go, and I'm actually camping on the water. I've got so many videos out there, and for instance, I just talked about the Gazelle. I have a video on how to set the Gazelle up. So if you want to see the Gazelle and see how you set it up from start to finish and how to put it back down, I've got a video on that. It's a good idea to put a ground cloth down. You don't have to. The Gazelle's got a good floor to it. Put a ground cloth down and it just saves your tent floor, and it makes it last that much longer. Just make sure your ground cloth doesn't extend beyond the perimeter of your tent, because if you get a big rain coming down and your ground cloth is, say, a foot past where your tent comes down, where your rain fly comes down and dumps all the water, well, that water could hit the tarp and then run right back underneath your tent. You don't want that to happen. So isn't that a beautiful design? Look how easy that goes. And this T4 is huge. I think they make a T6 and a T8 plus. This here is big enough for a family of 4. Easy. Unless you want to put some kind of great big cots in there, beds in there, or you need just more room. If you're on a family vacation and you were driving around and you guys were stopping and going, look how fast that sets up right there. So if you don't tie them down, they are so strong that if a giant wind came up and you didn't have it tied down, it's gone. It is just going to take off and end up in the woods, end up in the water, wherever you're camping at. They come with some really nice stakes, so you always want to make sure you stake down at least the 4 corners. But if you're camping on someplace like Lake Superior, you want to make sure to put your guy lines down and make sure that it is so strong that wind is not going to take it and just blow it away, because it'll be like a box kite. How sweet is that? A few more anchors, done. saw how fast it'll actually set up. And then when you step inside, plenty of room. It has windows all the way around, which is pretty nice. I've only got them opened about halfway. It has a full-size door on this side and on the opposite side. So you have a front door and a back door. You have a lot of gear lofts where you can store things. Pretty nice. Look at this right here. You could put a lot of things in there. Keep all your stuff organized. You have 4 of those right there. Pretty nice tent. That's a Gazelle T4. So, camping in the Hoosier National Forest, you have quite the surround sound going on. Yeah, it'll put you to sleep. Hey, what a good day. You know, hit some storms. You know, those storms were pretty incredible. But I enjoyed it. Tomorrow I'm going to get up early, head down to Celina Lake, put the selvin in the water, and see if we can't catch a few fish in a smaller lake. Not a lot of luck at Patoka. I wonder what other people are doing, if they're having any luck or if it's just died off. Oh well, we'll see. It's what I call the celestial blanket of frogs, crickets, southern Indiana charm. All right, hey, good morning. That's a good night's sleep right there. Yep. Gonna go on down to Celina Lake, which is just a mile down the road. Gonna try to put the selvin in. It's gonna be interesting. The lake is very low, so the selvin, it's gonna be interesting whether or not I can even launch it or not. We're gonna give it a shot. Glad you came along. Hope you got a good night's sleep. Let's go on out. Try to get some fish. Again? Had some visitors last night. Look at all those guys. They're everywhere. Not in direct sun. That's one nice thing about north face at Indian-Celina Lake is there's a lot of good shade, and so you don't have to really set up in the sun. All right, that was a successful launch, first time on Celina Lake. Looks pretty good out there, looks nice and calm. Probably the winds will pick up. I have fished Celina Lake a lot, and what I have noticed is there are some pretty big bass out there, but I've also noticed the wildlife is incredible. I mean, I literally saw a turtle out here one time about the size of a 16-inch rim on a truck or a car. And it was sitting at the top of the surface when I went up, and I actually thought that's what it was, a rim. But I thought, how's the rim floating? When I went up right next to him, I was in my canoe. When I went next to him, all of a sudden, he looked at me out of the side of his eye, and then he just kind of rode over and just went down, made a deep dive, and he was just covered with moss all over him. So I call that my dinosaur turtle. Okay, let's get out there and get some fish. see a lot of moss out on the lake, so might have to use some topwater lures or probably some weedless worms, stuff like that. Boy, what a beautiful morning, man. It's kind of weird. I kind of like firing up the big Chrysler Daddy and getting it going out on the lake, Patoka Lake, and the little Tohatsu even, firing it up and going. Out here now, I can't use any motors, only a trolling motor. And in a way, it's like, oh, come on, man, let me just fire up the little Tohatsu so I get out to the other side of the lake. But you know what? It makes a lot of sense because look how quiet it is. Look how serene it is. And they want it to remain just like this right here. If somebody put a boat in right now and fired it up and went cruising across there, throwing wakes everywhere, and it just wouldn't be the same. It's a different kind of feeling, this lake compared to Patoka Lake. We're going to get over here to a nice fishing hole. We're going to start doing some fishing with that brand new Abu Garcia. Yeah. First things first, gotta clean the polarized glasses. Probably ought to go through my camera lenses too and clean those up. And you know, it's not near as bad as saltwater. You know, I've been out on the ocean, been on fishing trips, and been out on boats on the ocean, and the problem you have there is that saltwater. Boy, it just absolutely coats everything. Down at the Gulf Shores, you know, you can walk, you can take a walk, come back, and it's like your glasses just have this film, this salt film on it. Here, basically, you're just talking about water spots. That sunscreen can be pretty bad on it. If you follow my channel, you'll hear me say that a lot. Well, I'm a big believer in that sunscreen, and I'm going to go ahead and put it on now because even though it doesn't feel like I really need it right now, I'm going to go ahead and put it on. That way my skin's not getting burnt, and then a couple hours from now when I decide to put it on, well, I'm already got myself kind of a little bit of a deficit going on. It's one of my biggest struggles right there is keeping my camera lenses clean. I know a photographer, her name is Sheen Watkins, and I've asked her before about it. I said, how do you do that, especially in the wintertime with the fog and all that going on? And she just says you just make sure you just keep them clean. You just do it all the time and you just don't worry about it. It's a long ways back here to the dam. I'm trying to put my trolling motor on autopilot, and it seems to want to run a straight course. It wants to get off like it's doing right now. It's turning right now. So what I need to do is figure out how to tighten that up a little bit so I can run a full course. Rooster tail, a silver rooster tail now for about 30 minutes and haven't got a bite yet. So I'm going to try the little gulp minnow and see if I can do some good. This lake has really gotten mossy. A lot of weeds have grown up since the last time I've been. One thing I'd like to mention when it comes to camping at Celina Indian Lake North Face Campground. It's beautiful, it's quiet, and it's serene. Usually there's not very many people there, so you got a lot of privacy. Campsites are really set up nice, have some cushion between each campsite, which is really nice. That's something I always look for when I'm camping, is do I have privacy to the neighbor to the left, neighbor to the right, neighbor across the street. That's always important to have that. I usually crash out right when it gets dark. I usually don't have a campfire anymore or anything like that. It's just played hard all day long, and by the time it gets dark, I'm ready to crash out, get back up at 5 a.m. and get out on the lake or do whatever I'm doing, hiking, whatever. The thing about the Hoosier National Forest, if you look at a map of Indiana and you look where the Hoosier National Forest is, it's not very wide. It's long. It goes from the Ohio River all the way up to almost Bloomington, Indiana. So it's definitely long south to north, but east to west it's not very wide. Less than an hour from here to the east is Louisville, Kentucky. And Louisville, Kentucky has one of the largest airports in the United States. I mean, it ranks pretty high as far as probably in the top 10, I would think. So what I noticed last night was, as I laid there, it all depends on the wind, the approach to the airport. They were definitely coming in from the west and heading to Louisville to the east. And that is the runway, the main runway, because I can tell that because as I laid there, I could tell these jumbo jets were coming over, and you could tell they were decelerating as they came in. They were dropping altitude, and you could hear them, and they were all in the exact same rotation, exact same line coming across. And we're talking about probably in the heat of it, we're talking about probably one every 2 or 3 minutes, something like that. Now, I like jet traffic. I like jet engines. I like to watch them. I like to film them. If you notice on my videos, you'll always see a jet every now and then show up on my videos, because if I see one, I photograph it. But if that bothers you, it's something just to be concerned with, because you are going to hear, especially now with air traffic so busy these days, you're definitely going to notice that, if you come here to sleep. Now, if you had a fan on or something, you wouldn't hear it near as much. The campsite is only, this Indian-Celina Lake is only a few miles off I-64. So as you lay there, depending on the wind, but if there's some kind of a north wind or calm wind, you'll hear semis running I-64 all night long. And every once in a while, you'll hear them run off and hit the rumble strip and real loud like that. Once again, it's just the way it is. You just have to kind of expect that when you come here. I don't want somebody to think this is like being up in the middle of the mountains and it's totally quiet, because there are things going on here in Hoosier National Forest that you will. I'm always very careful when I do my videos and I describe, certain places I go and things like that, not to make it seem like a quote-unquote Disney World safe place, nothing's ever going to go wrong kind of place. You are out in the wilderness and things do happen. So there's certain things when you camp, and this is the same as across the USA. When you camp, you have to think about certain things. Let's say where I'm at right now, Hoosier National Forest, Indian-Celina Lake. Only a couple miles off the interstate. Now the problem with that is the interstate, is a main artery in the United States of America. People going back and forth, back and forth. What you'll notice is a lot of times when somebody's on the run, somebody's escaped from prison, something happened like that, a lot of times they end up getting caught in campgrounds. And that has always been a little concern of mine, that somebody's going to run right through this area, be out of gas, be out of cash, be desperate for whatever's happening, see the sign, hey, there's a campground a couple miles off, come pulling in there. I've seen strange cars pull in here late at night. So far, nothing major has happened, but keep that in mind. If you do camp here, you have to pay attention to who's coming in the campground, what cars are going by, if they look suspicious or not. If something happens, obviously, if you get scared or something bothers you, just get out of there. Or you can always call 911. The sheriffs are very fast to get here, always very fast. So another concern I have, and I know some of you out there are going, come on, Mr. Lawrence, you're ruining my time. I'm not even going to go now. Well, it's not my intent to ruin your time. It's my intent just to inform you what I have found out through the years. And so when you come here and you camp, or wherever you camp in the United States, you're going to pay attention to all the details rather than just show up blissfully and camp and not think anything is going to happen, because things do happen, as we know. Another little bit of a concern here at the North Face Campground here at Indian-Celina Lake is less than a few miles away is a prison. Now, it's a minimum security prison. It's my understanding people that maybe tax fraud, maybe child support, stuff like that. It's more of a bunkhouse situation, but it is there. It does exist. If you come here camping, you'd always want to be a little cautious. If you saw somebody come through the campground on foot that was dressed a little odd, that didn't look right, that didn't look like they had a vehicle with them, you'd always want to kind of consider that too. Get here. I always accept those minimal risks whenever I get. Hey, enjoying another super coffee this morning. vanilla latte. Vanilla latte is going to be my favorite, I think. Enjoy chilled super coffee. This is a very famous place where a lot of people swim, especially if they're hiking the 12-mile loop trail. They'll stop, camp up here, and they'll come down and swim right here. Good place to take a break. I kind of feel fortunate that I'm here and there's not anybody here. Usually in the summertime, there's all kind of people usually sitting here swimming and just kind of hanging out. Hikers will be camping up here. But right now it seems like I'm the only one here. I don't see anybody else on the lake. The canoers and the kayaks went home. So I think I'm going to take the opportunity to get in the water here, cool off a little bit, try to do some more fishing. Haven't done any good yet. Maybe a couple little strikes, that's about it. So I'm not sure what the combination is here. I'm going to keep on working on it. Water's nice. Feels really good. Actually feels kind of cool. Oh yeah. Anytime you can cool off like that, it's pretty nice in the summertime. And now it just feels like the whole day has started again. Try to fish this dam right over here. I think that was strange. I just had a buck blow at me. Right up here. Sound like a small one. Well, at least this time I didn't swim with my glasses on. Now they won't be all spotted up. They're a little bit spotted up, but not much. Whew. Tell you what, it's supposed to be 95 today. It's getting warm. Definitely getting warm. All right, I'm going to shove off and we're going to go on from here. You know, there is something very simplistic about just using a trolling motor and not worrying about the gas motors, firing them up, put your life jacket on, go fast, all that kind of stuff. It's kind of like a more simpler time out here. Very quiet. This is the dam to Celina Lake, so the water is just real deep here. Just got my first big, strong hit right in this corner right here, and I have caught bass before in this corner, so I'm gonna go ahead. I think what I haven't thrown yet is some kind of a crankbait. My son-in-law Jared told me about one that he uses, and I actually bought it and I can't find it. I don't know if I left it in the vehicle or what, so I'm gonna try to improvise and do something. These dog days of summer, I just can't get nothing going here, but you know what, I'm trying, I'm experimenting, and that's what it takes. What else can you do? Got some cloud cover starting, and I don't want the same thing to happen that happened yesterday on Patoka Lake, and that big old storm brewed and caught me out there on the water. I definitely don't want to get caught out on some storms. I think I'll go ahead and eat some lunch. I'm also a little concerned how my battery power is. Without the Chrysler motor running, I don't have any charging system going, so I'm just wondering how my battery's doing. Now, I did get a brand new battery deep cell. I have it with me, but I'd have to figure out how to get it all connected and switched out and stuff like that. You know, obviously, if I brought it, I pretty much figured that I could figure it out. I'm going to let the wind kind of just blow me around out here in the middle. I'm going to eat some lunch. I've got definitely some cloud cover coming in now that I don't like. But you know, if I get caught out here, I get caught out here. There's nothing I can do. You know, all I have is a trolling motor now. I can't fire up the big Chrysler Daddy and outrun that storm like I did yesterday. Boy, you know it's dog days of summer when I can sit out here in the middle of this lake. I've got a line in on the front and a line in on the back. Just a couple lures just down there just bobbing around, you know. I think they're working as anchors. They're actually holding me in place out here, so yeah. Hard fishing weather like this. I know my buddy John Hirschman used to say he used to catch the big fish. I don't know. Maybe other people are. Leave a comment if you're catching big fish in hot weather like this. But just has seemed to have just stopped altogether. Just no bites. I've had one strong bite this whole time. Celina Lake and Indian Lake, I would say this time of year experiences tremendous amount of pressure. You know, for me, all of a sudden, just zero bites like this, and it died off. Sometimes when things happen, you've got to go back and say, okay, let's examine this and figure out what is going on. And sure enough, when I was catching all the fish, the first 2 or 3 times out, now the weather was a little bit different, but I was using my Fluger and my Zebco reels with fluorocarbon on them. Now I went to braided line, I'm not catching anything. Could it be? I don't know. You fishermen out there know. If you guys are experienced, you know what's up, what's going on. So if you come to Celina Lake and you got a bigger boat like the Selvin, no problem at all launching it. No problem. It seems like I've studied up on it where the one thing you have to watch about boat ramps like the one here is that the concrete's only poured so far and then there could be a drop off. And a lot of people have actually put their trailer in before and the wheels dropped off the concrete and had a lot of trouble trying to pull it back out of the water. Here you don't have to worry about it. I mean, this is Hoosier National Forest, National Park Service, and they dumped load after load of number 2 rock. It's about the half the size of a baseball. And so they just got a ton of it down there. So my trailer did go beyond the concrete, but it went right out on the rock and it wasn't a problem. Very easy, and the boat dock's right there. So it was a very easy launch. So keep that in mind. Canoeing and kayaking, boy, I tell you, there's a place for it. So good exercise and just so quiet, so smooth. Oh boy. All right. Sorry. I usually try to turn the camera on before I get them in the boat, but man, the pressure was on that I wasn't going to get skunked today, and time was running out. All right. Woo! Nice little bass. Wow. All right. There we go. Not a giant bass, but a bass. Pretty good. All right, bud. Thank you. I appreciate that more than you can imagine. Have a good day. Woo! Okay. Wow. Well, I tell you what, this turned out to be a tough lake to fish. I've got so much seaweed everywhere, and now, like for instance, if you don't pay attention, my trolling motor's full of it now. I don't know what kind of weed they call this, but I tell you what, it's pretty well around the perimeter, and it is some tough stuff. I'm going through a big patch of it right here. You get that all cut up in your motor and stuff, and it's a real problem. So I'm going to drift through this section. But hey, how about that bass? Yes. So that was about the 3rd hard hit I got on that. And basically that was just a, I think it was an H2O. I got it at Academy. H2O, you know, just a spinner, couple blades, willow blades on it. Looks like purple, blue, black, and I left that little green thing on there. I think that's to protect customers, but I couldn't get it off there without trying to slice it off, so I just left it on there and it seemed to work okay. All right, well, there you go. One fish in the boat. Yeah, see, catching that one fish, boy, I tell you what, I've got stuck in these weeds and stuff. Need to try to paddle off it. There we go. All right. That was kind of weird. It was like the weeds had caught the front bow of the boat and was just taking me along the weeds. I wasn't going to be able to get out with the trolling motor. Okay, got that done. Hey, that's my first bass that I've caught this year since I've been out, since I've had the Selvin. So I'm pretty proud of that. I'm going to remember that spinner right there. I've got a green and gray one too that I may use. All right. Boy, that puts a little life in the day for sure. I was getting a little discouraged. It's probably 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Been out here since probably about 6:30 or 7. All right, well, that was a pretty tough day, I gotta say. As far as fishing goes, you know, got some strikes this morning. No fish in the boat. This afternoon, I was able to bring that one in that you saw. I actually put it on the net and got it in. I'd caught another one probably 5 or 10 minutes before that, got it right up to the edge of the boat. By the time I grabbed for the net, it jumped off the hook and was gone. It wasn't as big as the one that I put in the boat, so I'm guessing one was probably about an 8-inch and the other was probably 12. That's a tough lake to fish. You know, you got to deal with that grass. That grass is everywhere. You know, I know guys talk about throwing lures that'll go through that grass, or they'll actually throw something right in that grass and pull it through. That's where the fish are. I guarantee you the strikes that I had was when the grass would be growing right here and I'd drop my lure and it'd go right next to it like this on the outside. But it's hard to do because there's sporadic places and it always gets your lure all caught up and stuff. You know, this summertime fishing is tough. It is just so tough. So, hey, thank you for coming to the channel. That's LAF Space Film Fest. Capital LAF Space Film Fest. Hey, if you would, hammer down that subscribe button. I appreciate it. And please comment if you know some of the questions that I ask. I'm really sincere about. If you have answers to any of them, just let me know. And I hope you have a good day, and I hope you get the chance to go fishing so you can say you're gone fishing. I was at Patoka Lake a few days ago, and I did a little segment on how to put your boat, store it all when you bring it out of the water, how to put everything together so you can hit the highway and not worry about anything slipping, anything blowing out, so forth and so on. Well, what's weird is, because I'm here at Celina Lake, I thought, I'm going to pull the Selvin out of the water. I've got just a short distance to drive to the campsite. I'll just put this hook on the front, drive it here, and then finish hooking up the motors and everything else once I got here. I'm going to pay the price for doing that instead of doing it there on the water, because that little drive here, I'll show you what happened. See that distance right there? Somehow the Selvin, I guess, just like I said, it is less than a mile drive. The Selvin must have slipped back as it hit a few bumps. It slipped back a little bit, and now I've got this gap right here. And I tried to winch at, but the winch it's awful tough, and I don't want to pull this weld loose right here. That's pretty important. That's a strong weld, but I'm sure you can outdo that weld. That winch is probably able to pull that weld loose. So what I'm going to have to do is go ahead and I got to drive back down to the lake, float the back of the Selvin back up, winch it up tight, pull it out of the water, pull in the parking lot, and go ahead and hook everything up on the back. Yep. Another lesson learned. Don't do that. Make sure that when you pull it out of the water, you stop and you get everything secure before you drive it, because the boats will move as you're going down the road. The gazelle tent has been taken down. The camp host here, really cool guy. Lonnie has ran Indian-Celina Lake campgrounds and the whole park for a very long time. And now this new guy, his name was Gene. I guess he just joined forces this year. Great guy. He come by and he was the one that registered the campsite for me and was talking to me. Doesn't live very far away, and it's one thing that I've always said is anytime you come to your national parks like this, I found it's very true to be like up in Michigan and places like that. Usually the people that are running the parks and are actually working the parks and doing all the work are local people, so they really take good care of their surroundings because this is their backyard, so to speak. Actually, a few hours ago, Gene pulled in, and I was talking to him, and I hadn't been watching the weather forecast real close. That's why I got caught in that big storm at Patoka Lake yesterday, because I wasn't watching it as close as I should have been. Well, he's telling me that right now there is a heat warning, a heat index of 110 degrees in the next couple days, stagnant air, and just bad news for, trying to camp. I think the low tonight's only supposed to be 75 and real muggy. Like the dew point is like 80% or something like that. So, yeah, just bad conditions. I'm not doing no good, Sonny. I'm not doing no good. I can't catch any fish. I'm not doing no good.